This is the river that links all of Sahel's people to one another, the Niger. Stretching over 4,200 kilometers, it extends from Guinea to Nigeria as it traverses Western Africa in its entirety. Here in Mali is where its course runs the longest. It is a nourishing artery to a country devoid of seashores. It is from the Niger River that fishermen who belong to an ethnic group called the Bozo draw more than a means to live. To them, it is the domain belonging to the Queen of the Waters and the river's magical spirits, of whose secrets they are the sole keepers. The Bozo are one of many ethnic groups populating Mali, all of which bear witness to the history of Western Africa's empires. The Festival on the Niger is an annual event that celebrates this rich history. The celebration takes place in Ségou, Mali's second largest city after Bamako, its capital. This 4-day festival celebrates the river and its beliefs, Malian music and dance, as well as the country's entire cultural diversity. All the following ethnic groups are well represented: Bozo, Dogon, Fulbe, Bambara, Songhai, Tuareg, Mandinka, Senufo, and Soninke. Typically known as Masters of the Water on the river, the Bozo fishermen also hold the Master of Ceremonies title. Young fishermen coming from each of the region's riverbank villages challenge each other during the annual pirogue race. Ibrahima Kontao is in charge of orchestrating the race.
In performing our fishing duties, we fishermen find ourselves scattered around from one season to the next. This race provides an opportunity for all fishermen of the domestic territory, including those fishing abroad, to come together. The man at the head of the pirogue brandishes his staff to cast an evil spell on the other competitor's pirogue, while favoring his own. Altogether, his gestures are an attempt to slow the other pirogues down. This race has been around for a very long time. I couldn't tell you exactly since when, but it goes back to the days the area was colonized.
Sitting on the water, the king of Segu, Damanzon, awaits the queen of the waters, Barafo, the ancestral mother whose progeny are the Bozo people. The traditional Bozo ceremony, featuring the daily lives and mysterious aspect of the fishermen's ethnic group, takes place during the festival. Modibo Dembele is the master of ceremonies.
This festival occurs every year and has been going on for a very long time. In fact, way before my grandparents' days. It's been around for generations. It is an opportunity for us to bestow offerings to our magical spirits with hopes of a good year to come. Barafo, queen of the waters, lives below the water surface. She is half woman and half fish. Although she is a magical spirit, she lives as men do.
Every Monday at daybreak, as the river spirits are barely awakened, an astonishing procession sets ashore at the city. They bring to Segu the weekly earthenware products from Kalabugu village. Located across the river, Kalabugu is widely known as the pottery village. Mostly practical in nature, their pottery is distributed across the country and occasionally exported. 4,000 earthenware pieces are unloaded within a few minutes in an agile and well-rehearsed act. Each individual potter will subsequently retrieve their rightful possessions thanks to an inconspicuous mark, often only visible to their keen eye. In order to reach the pottery village during shallow water season, the pirogues must clear a path through the exposed sand ridges. There are close to 150 pottery producers operating in Kalabugu. The women of this village, hailed from the blacksmith caste and known as the legendary Masters of Fire and of the Arts and Crafts, perpetuate from mother to daughter this ancient tradition that vanishes little by little from the elders' fainting memory. Dean Barafane guides their skillful work.
I was actually born surrounded by pottery, just as my mother was, and even back then, my grandmother worked pottery. So if you're going to ask me to when pottery dates back within this village, I wouldn't know what to say. No man has ever had anything to do with pottery. It's strictly a woman's affair. Today is Tuesday, the day when potters source out clay from the quarry.
Pottery making follows a strict weekly work cycle. On Tuesdays, we collect the clay. On Wednesdays, it is blended with a powder made from crushed old pottery. The resulting mix will better withstand the baking process. On Thursdays and Fridays, we shape our pots. The modeling process is done without a potter's wheel in an amazing display of skillful art.
It is not structured work. Each woman works by herself from home, using her own special technique. The only time they all come together is on firing day. It's on this single occasion that we are all gathered in the same place at the same time.
The clay firing process takes place on Saturdays and Sundays in a specially built grand main fire at the heart of the village. On Mondays, once the cycle is complete again, the potters journey to Segu to sell their handiwork. Bozo people claim there's an entire submerged city on the river's bed, an invisible city guarded by magical spirits, as large as the city of Djenné. Eastwards of Segu, surrounded by the Bani, one of the Niger's tributaries, is located Djenné, the mud brick city. In 1988, UNESCO granted World Heritage status to the city of Djenné for its distinctive mud brick architecture. Here you will find neither traditional bricks nor building blocks, but rather strictly mud bricks called banko. The Great Mosque of Djenné is the world's largest banko structure. Regarded as the most significant work in the Sudanese architectural style, it is the symbol of a tolerant Islam within Black Africa, where a strange mix of beliefs and animated rituals still persist. Although merely erected in 1907, the joint damaging effects of the sun and rain call for an annual collective effort by the residents to roughcast the mosque's exterior. The entire community gets involved, and the festivities take place over several days. Living in a city classified as a World Heritage Site that must preserve its authenticity is not always easy, especially when there is a complete lack of modern-day sanitary infrastructure, such as a sewer system. Bakari Coulibaly is responsible for environmental issues within the town hall. His delicate task consists in enforcing the cleanliness of the river and the streets.
I'm going on a neighborhood inspection primarily to monitor wastewater, because it is a major problem within the landmark city of Djenne. Prior to initiating this inspection, I held a local meeting and even made an announcement on Radio Djamena addressing unsanitary practices in general. As well as specific wastewater issues, I warned everyone that whoever was caught in the act would face charges. Hello, how are you doing?
Health comes first.
That's right. Health comes first. Everything's fine, thank you.
Bakari endeavors to get the names of those who once again have thrown their wastewater onto the street. It's an intricate task in a neighborhood where everyone knows each other and most belong to the same family.
We must realize how difficult things are here. I went on site. I found wastewater, and sure enough, no one's guilty. Everybody blames everyone else. No one dares to point the finger since they're all neighbors. Then there's the issue of endogamous marriages within the city, which adds to my already challenging work. Because when you confront one person, the reality is you're involved with two. You affect everyone.
Tackling environmental concerns in a deprived country is a monumental task. Behavioral changes not only take time, but also require an in-depth understanding of all ethnic groups, their respective traditions, and their beliefs. Actively involved in the Niger River's preservation efforts, UNESCO solicited the help of Issai Dunon, anthropologist at Bamako University, to conduct a study on the relationship that exists between man and the river. He converses with Baba Kontao, who for over 30 years was captain of the basin that allows for the crossing of the Bani, Niger's tributary, 3 kilometers away from Djenne.
In the past, did the elders used to do everything with the pirogues?
Yes, they would attach several pirogues together to allow cars to go across.
Like this?
They would tie 2 or 3 pirogues side by side to fit the car on top. Several of them would then lift the car to mount it onto the pirogues. In those days, cars weren't as large as today's. They were only 2 horsepower.
Back then, did the river used to reach Djenne?
Yes, the river used to nearly reach Djenne.
Up to the city?
In fact, it did at one point reach Djenne itself.
But when did the major scenery change occur? Between 84 and 92?
The landscape really changed during the drought that lasted from 1984 to 1992. This drought caused the river to recede a great deal.
Over 20 years, the Bani has drastically changed in the vicinity of Djenne. The river used to reach the shore right here where we're sitting, but it has since receded by at least 1 kilometer. Back in the 80s, it would take 2 hours for the few odd cars to get across. All this land we currently see used to be nothing but water. The hydrological landscape has fundamentally been altered. In the past, fishing was the main source of income for the Bozo people, a once thriving economy that has since become secondary to them. All of these people who once earned a living fishing can no longer subsist as fishermen, and as a result they go back to crop growing.
The landscape changes radically further north. We are now in a flooded area called the Inner Niger Delta. This is where we find the masters of the waters, the Bozo fishermen who hold the river's secrets. The Delta's Bozo fishermen adopt a semi-nomadic lifestyle as they move their dwellings according to the seasons and water levels. With the rain season behind them, they yet again settle in their hut along the river's shoreline to carry on fishing for a few months. Hamdi Pagu acts as chief to one of these Bozo camps.
We as Bozo originate from the Queen of the Waters. She's our ancestral mother who lives in the water. Bozo people are the sole keepers of the water's secrets. Transgressing the river's dangers unleashes the fury of the river's spirits, who rise up to the surface in a forewarning to the camp's chief.
Hamdi Pagu's camp is set along Lake Debu's shores in the Inner Niger Delta at the heart of the country. This delta is a true inner sea that forms as the river spills over to create the vast floodplains. It stands as one of the largest flooded areas on the planet, and as such, Mali's main fishing ground.
We're all cousins in this camp. Not only do we have rights, but also responsibilities towards the river. At the start of every fishing season, we sacrifice an animal as an offering to the spirits. This year, we slaughtered a sheep.
The Inner Niger Delta is home to 1 million residents. This floodplain is blessed with a rich ecosystem where fishing yields between 50,000 and 100,000 tons of fish annually. Of the over 140 different species of fish inhabiting these waters, at least 24 are endemic. Bozo people essentially commercialize their catch in the form of smoked fish.
There are rules that cannot be disobeyed. For instance, the containers in which gumbo sauce is prepared cannot be washed in the river.
Fishermen, livestock farmers, and crop growers all operate on a rotational basis in making use of the delta's water and land. Fishermen take over the flooded plains, whereas nomadic cattle raisers run their operations as soon as the water recedes.
When disgruntled, the river spirits can bring about the death of a fisherman as retribution, or otherwise trigger fierce storms, capsizing the passenger and merchandise-laden pirogues shuttling between Mopti and Tombouctou.
All of the inner Niger Delta hustle and bustle funnels toward the city of Mopti. Pirogues, people, merchandise, and especially all the fish caught within the delta. The city of Mopti, nicknamed the Malian Venice, is situated where the Niger River converges with its influent, the Bani. It is literally the commercial hub linking both northern and southern Mali and adjacent countries. All Malian ethnic groups have flocked to Mopti, where they live harmoniously throughout this port city in a perpetual bustle of activities. As the Bozo chief of the port of Mopti, Usemani Jenepo personifies a traditional authority figure.
As a Jenepo family, we stand as masters of the waters. No one is allowed to fish in Mopti without our consent. We are the ones given the right to fish. The Jenepos are related to what lives on the water. Ordinary men like you do not know what lies beneath the surface. Only we do, given our close bond with the magical spirits living under the water. At the time Archanard passed through Mopti, it was a mere fisherman's camp. It has since evolved into a thriving fishing port thanks to the contribution from the Jenepos, the Tapos, and other Bozo families.
Moreover, Mopti is a shipyard on the river where pirogue makers employ several skilled tradesmen. Nails forged by the blacksmiths are used on the spot by pirogue makers.
We are the ones who supply fresh and smoked fish to Western Africa, from Ghana to Nigeria, including Senegal, Burkina, and the Ivory Coast. In this very port, there once was a time where there were rows of semi-trailers as far as the eye could see, filled with fish to be exported. This is where dozens of trucks used to line up. Mopti has already lived through its moment of glory. Today things are much more different.
The amount of fish caught in the delta is nowhere close to what it used to be. As a result, Mopti is experiencing a decline in its activity level. Mopti's assistant mayor, Mumuni Traore, manages environmental issues relating to the river.
The port we're currently in used to have its own fish processing plant. The fish from Mopti was exported to Tunisia and even to France. This plant was forced to shut down. Prior to the onset of the drought in the 70s, this port would receive approximately 150,000 tons of fish annually. Since that drought, we handle from 70 to 80,000, and really as much as 90,000 tons. The drought is to blame for all of this, since the temporary pools remain waterless. These pools are, in reality, suitable breeding grounds for the fish.
propice des poissons.
The small island you can see there did not exist 15 years ago. This river is becoming filled with sand, which hinders navigation, especially of large boats.
D'être ensablé, ça gêne la navigation, notamment des gros bateaux.
Today, you see, we extract sand from the river's bed. 20 years ago, this type of work would have been inconceivable. It began some 4 or 5 years back.
Sand extraction is a quickly expanding operation all along the Niger River. All this sand is used for building purposes and therefore benefits the country's numerous construction sites. Mali's population explosion is such that the country itself has been a giant work site for the last 20 years. Due to the lack of fish, an increasing number of fishermen and pirogue operators have had little choice but to take part in this manual labor, which compels them to be immersed in water for hours on end. Several of them dive tirelessly 3 meters deep from morning to night. In some areas, the amount of sand drawn out is quite significant. This is actually beneficial for the river, especially in heavily sanded areas such as Mopti. Elsewhere, however, experts fear these riverbed disturbances may sooner trigger riverbank erosion. Then again, an ecological problem has led to the development of correlating economic activity, a common occurrence everywhere else on the Niger. It is within the confines of the inner Niger Delta region that a familiar, eye-catching, bright orange and blue pinance, the term for large motorized pirogues, can be found. It belongs to the River Doctors, a humanitarian organization established by a husband and wife team of Parisian physicians Hervé and Martin Dary.
The idea of launching this NGO came to us 3 years ago, following a 10-year stay in Africa. After having traveled this particular route several times in the past, in the company of Malian friends, we realized the appalling lack of necessities afflicting the nomadic Bozo and Fulbe people. That's when we told ourselves, we'll have to come back here with all the much-needed supplies.
Thanks to its traditional pinance, the River Doctors reach out to those populations to whom the river provides the one and only access.
She cleans the fish. This is before cleaning, after cleaning. This removes all surface detritus on the fish and sends it to the bottom. How long will they stay here?
Approximately 5 months.
5 months. Okay. Afterwards, they live off the sale of the fish for the rest of the year until the following year.
Does it hurt?
Yes, it hurts.
Turn your head. Do you drink river water?
Yes.
Straight from the river?
You don't boil it?
You don't filter it? These are temporary camps. There appears to be no drinking water. Since they don't even have wells in these campsites, they get their water from the river. It's the contamination source for all infections, parasitic and water-transmitted diseases. What really dumbfounded us was the disparity between the beauty of the scenery and the vulnerability and destitution of these people. The river is both a source of life and, as we just saw, of disease.
Mais nous, on a bien vu qu'aussi ce fleuve était source de maladies.
After the rain season, we notice how much higher the river water level is. It reaches up the Banco houses. We witness the desolation of it all, as after each season people must rebuild the dwelling they keep losing year after year.
It takes a day for the river doctors traveling by Pinance to reach Lake Debo. From Paris, prior to its departure, the association has made every effort to announce their visit to the people in as many different ways as possible, including through small local radio stations. The word of mouth will spread far and wide, from pirogue to pirogue and camp to camp. Early morning, on the shoreline of Lake Debo, in the village of Guidio, the town crier announces the arrival of the doctor's pirogue.
On va voir Tiamba là?
Has the radio announced our visit?
Yes.
Okay, very good. We will work today and tomorrow trying to assess which patients need the most care.
You're welcome. Feel right at home.
In this village of 2,000 inhabitants lacking electrical power, the local health center usually runs without a doctor present. The river doctors use their visit as an opportunity to train staff by ensuring all their consultations are performed with the help of a local nurse. In 2 days' work, the 4 physicians will complete 236 consults.
I will explain to them the 3 food groups and how each one of them must be added to the gruel. Otherwise, the end product has no beneficial value. In order to be effective, all 3 of the food groups have to be eaten together.
Pour qu'il soit efficace. Si c'est séparé, c'est pas efficace.
Ces populations, on pourrait penser qu'elles sont finalement.
As a first impression, one would likely assume that these populations are blessed by the river and the resources it can represent. Although it is true that fishermen do fish a lot, the amount they catch still declines steadily. The sand accumulations, as well as the water level fluctuations, endanger these populations for whom the river represents everything.
Over the last 20 years, unrelenting drought periods have caused the river's flow rate to diminish. Mali's most vital resource is endangered. Thus, saving the Niger River is a top priority as much for the country as it is for Western Africa as a whole. This may very well be an onerous undertaking for the world's most destitute region.